This is the last part of Federalist number 16. I just did not have enough time in the last video to explain and spend a little bit more time on the last line. Let me repeat that again. No form of government can always either avoid or control them. He's thinking about chaos and wars that will come in case of disunion, in case of governments not being established wisely. It is in vain to hope to guard against events too mighty for human foresight or precaution. And it would be idle to object to a government because it could not perform impossibilities. It's as if he is wanting to tell us that if we don't establish this government, something awful is going to happen between us. And we see that with the French Revolution almost 2 years later, less than 2 years later, chaos overtook. They wanted to replace all traditions, and they did not realize in France that there are certain things that human beings get used to, and you can't just break that anchor of the past immediately within 5 months, within 6 months. And that is one of the reasons that I have been saying that I'm hoping that we can get to a point where we can unite in 3 to 5 generations. Because I know it's going to have to be gradual. I think in this century, 21st century, we have to adopt a common language, a second language. Notice I say adopt. I don't mean like force it upon you or me. We all will have our first language. If we are in a country that sometimes we know 2 languages, well, we'll adopt a language that will be our third language, but a common language for the world. And I believe in this century, it is the language that you're hearing right now. The English language spoken all around the world. Because look at it this way. The English language is no longer the language of one island, one group of ethnicity, one religious background. It is the language that now in countries like United States, Canada, Australia, England, some places like India, people with all sorts of backgrounds speak it as a first language. In the United States, after 1965, we now have people from every part of the world here, with every background, every religion, every ethnicity. We have our native brothers that kept this continent for all of us to arrive and start this new experiment in federalism so that then we can share it with the rest of the world. The same thing in Canada. So I think while we're learning this common language, we teach it to our children from a young age, and then we start studying the American civilization and growth of federalism. Everything about it, the good part, the bad part, because obviously there's a lot of bad parts to it. So we learn, and we learn with that experience in 2 or 3 generations, after also learning from Canadian federalism, their challenges, looking at the European Union, how it is doing, what the weaknesses and its strengths are, and gradually get to a point where we look at each other Look at one another like brothers and sisters first, rather than I'm Iranian, I happen to have been born in a Muslim family, a Shia family. All of those will become second and third and fourth. My humanity will be paramount, will be at the top, will have priority. Because at the end of the day, we all have one home. That's the planet Earth. If you damage it, if I damage it, all the future generations will be hurt. All of life will be hurt. So gradually we'll get there. And I'm positive that we can do it. The only challenge to you is don't let negative people tell you no. Because there's always those negative people around. There will always be around. Just don't let them bring you down. All right, we will start Federalist number 17 shortly.